Alan Turing, a mathematician in the first half of the 20th century, triumphed many times, such as when he cracked Enigma for the Allies and helped win the war. Later, his life became more tragic when the police discovered he was a homosexual and he had to undergo chemical sterilization and was discriminated against up to his death. Alan Turing was born on June 23, 1912, in London, England. When he was 13 years old, he attended the Sherborne School, a prestigious all-boys school. While he went on to become a famous mathematician, Turing had other interests, including physics, chemistry, and neurology, and he participated in many sports such as rowing and was an Olympic-level runner. He was said to have a stutter and was described as wearing scruffy clothes. Even though he received poor grades and frustrated his teachers, he went on to attend King's College in Cambridge from 1931 to 1934. After his graduation, he became a fellow at the university. He published a paper in 1936 entitled On Computable Numbers, which has been dubbed undoubtedly the most famous theoretical paper in the history of computing. This paper answered the last of the three questions about mathematics posed by influential mathematician David Hilbert in 1928. Mathematics had been deemed incomplete and inconsistent by Chez logician Kurt Gödel, and Turing showed by means of his universal machine that mathematics was also undecidable. He went on to study mathematics and cryptology at the University for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey, in America, from 1936 to 1938. After receiving his Ph.D. from Princeton University in 1938, he returned to Cambridge where he took a part-time position with the Government Code and Cipher School, which was a British code-breaking organization. Alan Turing did many great things with his life, such as cracking Enigma. You may be wondering, what is an Enigma? Well, to quote the CIA's website, Enigma was a cipher machine. Each keystroke replaced a character in the message with another character determined by the machine's rotor settings and wire arrangements that were previously established between the sender and the receiver. For additional security, the German military services usually double encrypted their messages by first substituting original text with code words and then enciphering the encoded text. Alan Turing wasn't the first to crack Enigma. In 1939, Poland cracked an earlier version of Enigma and later helped by telling the Allies what they did to crack the earlier version. With this information, Alan Turing created the bomb, the machine that finally cracked Enigma. When they cracked Enigma, they didn't stop all attacks. They only stopped the ones that would have caused the most damage. If they hadn't done that, the Germans would have gotten suspicious and stopped using Enigma, such as in 1941 through 1943, they helped the Allies avoid U-boats during the Battle of the Atlantic. Alan Turing's work with cracking Enigma was vital to the ending of the war, and without it, thousands of soldiers would have died. General Dwight D. Eisenhower told the British intelligence chief in July of 1945 that Ultra, the code name for information from Bletchley Park where Alan Turing and his team worked, saved thousands of British and American lives and in no small way contributed to the speed with which the enemy was routed and eventually agreed to surrender. The British Prime Minister David Cameron also said this about Alan Turing. His actions saved countless lives. He also left a remarkable national legacy through his substantial scientific achievements, often being referred to as the father of modern computing. Dr. Sean Wiley, a colleague of Turing, also said in an interview,
"We didn't know till after World War II that Turing was homosexual. At least I did not know. There may have been some people who knew, perhaps Joan Clark knew. It could have been one reason that he gave to her for breaking off the engagement, for all I know. But it was probably a good thing that the security people didn't know, because he might then have been fired and we might have lost the war."
Alan Turing was a beloved mathematician until everyone found out he was a homosexual. He never kept his homosexuality a secret from his friends. When he told his fiancée, Joan Clark, he said he had a homosexual tendency. In 1952, he was convicted of gross indecency. The police convicted him because someone broke into his home and they were investigating the break-in. While they were investigating, they found out about his boyfriend, Arnold Murray. Murray said that he knew the burglar. Unfortunately, we don't know how. Thankfully, Alan Turing managed to avoid jail time, but he had to undergo chemical sterilization through hormone therapy. He got injections of the female hormone estrogen, which was believed to suppress his homosexuality. He had an injury and he was blooded, which was caused by the injections. Turing was hounded, but he was still upbeat, cheerful, and humorous. He didn't even stop working. He received a royal pardon in 2013, 61 years after his death, from Queen Elizabeth II. Alan Turing did many things other than crack Enigma. He was an English mathematician, logician, and cryptanalyst. He deciphered encryptions. For a few months, he even worked with the U.S. Navy's cryptanalytic section. Also, the A.M. Turing Award is named after him. Finally, he created the Turing test.
Often remembered for his contributions to the fields of artificial intelligence and modern computing science before either even existed, Turing is probably best known for what is now dubbed the Turing test. It is the process of testing a machine's ability to think. The basics of the Turing test is that a judge is having a conversation with a human and a computer and is trying to decide which is the computer and which is the human. If the computer can fool the judge into thinking it's the human, it passes. No computer has ever passed the Turing test.
On June 7, 1954, Alan Turing died of cyanide poisoning. His death was very poorly investigated and was officially declared a suicide. The verdict was very widely accepted, but some people believe it was an accident. His housekeeper found him in his bed with a half-eaten apple on his nightstand. He was 41 years old and had been undergoing chemical sterilization for 2 years. Because of this, many people believe that he killed himself. Except he was still doing chemical experiments and working. There are people who believe that his death was an accident during a chemical experiment. The police never tested the apple that was sitting on his nightstand for cyanide, but even if his apple hadn't been the source, he could have inhaled cyanide after an accident in his lab. That is just one thing that the police failed to do, but even besides that, the case lacked proper investigation. There was so little investigation done that murder is a possibility, although there are no signs pointing to murder, but we will never know. With the evidence provided, it's fairly unlikely that Alan Turing committed suicide. He showed no signs of wanting to, and the coroner said it was a suicide because, in a man of his type, one never knows what his mental processes are going to do next. But he never elaborated on